want to thank all of you for being out here. We invited all of you out here knowing that you would be interested in our meeting that we had with some students here at Ballou. Obviously, we didn't have this meeting as a press event, but we certainly want to, as always, be available to you to answer questions. And there will be some of the other participants out in there who I'm sure will be give you their comments and their perspective on this as well, including Councilman Mayor Berry, who was with us, Dr. Pollard, president of our UDC, as well as Dr. Clifford Janey, superintendent. I'm sure the Ballou officials or principal, assistant principal as well, some leaders of Peaceoholics. All of them were there with our students. And the point was to try to not really just talk to the students, but really hear from the students as to what their issues were and what their concerns were. You know, the meeting starts off with, certainly as mayor of our city, the fact that my thoughts and prayers go to the Ballou High School, which has suffered so much. They go to this the immediate community here, more broadly in Southeast, our entire city, for the tragedy we continue to suffer with the loss of too many children. As I've said many, many times, crime can be going down throughout the city. Homicides can be going down throughout the city, but if they're not going down in your neighborhood, if they've struck your family, they're not going down. I'm the first to say that. And I'm the first to recognize the frustration that many people in our city feel as to words and their ability to even address or comprehend something like this. I'm sure there'll be many journalists and editorialists and everybody else who will write about, well, how can the mayor saying this and that and this is still happening? That's a frustration that all of us feel. What I did commit to the students was that we would take their concerns, we would catalog them with the work of the Peaceoholics, and they can speak to that themselves, and then in a couple weeks come back with the students we met with, agree on a plan of action, and then that I would, and I believe that the superintendent, Dr. Pollard, and Councilman Mayor Berry would meet with the students on a monthly basis to see that we actually implement a number of these things. Obviously, a lot of the discussion focused on money and funding and issues about me and communication as it relates to me. I'm the mayor, and that's to be expected. The issues around baseball. A lot of the issues, and speaking to the funding issue, the point I made to the students, and you can ask the students their cut on this, but the point I made is that government has a role. Funding is certainly important. I can talk to them blue in the face about all the funding we put into the schools, all the funding we put into the neighborhoods. But there are certain needs out there. We try to address them in the 2006 budget. But having said all that about funding, government has a role, but there's also a role for personal responsibility. And everybody spoke to that. Dr. Pollard spoke to that, Superintendent Janey, and very, very powerfully, I thought, Councilman Mayor Berry, the role of personal responsibility in this as well, and the need for love and self-respect. There was a general consensus of the students that the curfew isn't working. Not that so much that it isn't being enforced, but that there's a futility in pushing the curfew when there really aren't structured options and opportunities for the students. And I think something that we're going to look at closely is a notion of saying, look, the curfew is still in effect. You either have to be in a structured activity that's officially sponsored and sanctioned, or you have to be at home. And that may be where we're going. But we're going to, again, this is going to be an ongoing working group with our students here at Ballou. I think some real action steps will come out of it, and I personally committed, and I think the other leaders have committed to working with the students in the coming weeks and months, and I think you'll see some real things. So that's what I have to say. Let me, since they're with me, let me ask the Ballou officials and Peaceoholics also for their comments.
Yes, how you doing? I'd like to thank the media for coming here for something positive, and also I'd like to thank the mayor and Marion Berry, Dr. Pollard, and everyone for extending themselves to the students of Ballou. And this is something that the students have been asking for, and it's long overdue, and it was a very productive meeting. The meeting some fine points came out of this meeting with the students, and the students were very happy that the mayor came to address some of their needs and issues. And I think from this meeting, a lot of positive things, in fact, I know a lot of positive things will come out of this meeting, because this is all the children need. When we came up, we were the same way these children were. My name is Ron Moten, R-O-N-A-L-D-M-O-T-E-N, CO, the Peaceoholics, and a lot of things that the children are doing, they just ask for people to listen to them. We have a lot of programs in the city, is what the mayor heard, but some of the programs are not programs that the children can relate to. So we're going to do some redefining and get the children to put some input on some things that they will anticipate and will participate in. And then if they don't participate in these programs, then there are no excuses because the children help create the program. So if they're out at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning and they're not in the program that they help create, then there's no excuse for being in the street. And that's all that a lot of students ask for. Let us help create some of the things that we want to be a part of. And then once these things are created, then you can hold us accountable. And I really think that this was very positive. Once again, I take my hat off to the mayor and his administration because this is what's needed much more. And I just can't say enough about this. This is what the children need, and it was very, very successful. I just take my hat off to the city administration and everybody else, UDC, Marion-Barry, and everybody who was a part of this worthy meeting. Thank you.
Let me hear, we want to hear from Dr. Pollard, hear from Councilman Mayor Barry. Dr. Pollard didn't. Okay.
Thank you very much. I just want to remind the audience and you here that the University of the District of Columbia is the district's urban land-grant university. And for me not to be here today and for this university not to be engaged in the issues that face the district is not to be of a good purpose. And so we're standing here to do any and everything we can to provide for the kind of education, for the kind of quality education that will support the district, but in particular support the future of the young lives that we met here with this morning.
Well, let me just say good afternoon, everybody. And I appreciate the fact that the mayor is out here with us, with young people. He and I have been working on a number of projects together. Summer jobs, for instance. We agreed to start with 10,000 this summer and go full-fledged for 06. We've been talking about some housing development projects. The D.C. government is going to build a government building on the other side, right at the Gateway, Good Hope, and Martin Luther King. A lot of things that happen out here in Ward 8. But one thing I'd like to just ask you all to do, and the young people complain about this, they say the media never shows up unless something bad is going on. So we got to figure out a way where you always just come, Tom. I know it's not newsworthy to just come out here. I mean, it's only newsworthy when somebody gets killed or the mayor shows up, or maybe I show up sometime like that. But please, a lot of good things are happening here in Southeast and Ward 8. A lot of good things happening at Ballou. Now, we have some good teachers at Ballou and got some awful teachers at Ballou. And I told Dr. Jane that. And got a principal here that loves these kids immensely. And the mayor and I are going to continue this dialogue with these young people. Because one thing that they complain about, nobody listens to us. Now, that they don't put me in that crowd because they know I care deeply about them. But the other thing they complain about, nobody follows up. We don't want to sit here and talk about something. And so the mayor agreed to come back in a couple of weeks with the same group and go over in great detail some of the suggestions and what has been happening since then. And then you have Ron Moten and my brother Abraham, Peaceoholics. I mean, they give them around. They are just outstanding out here. Who've gone through this system. Mr. Abraham, particularly, would have fallen off the edge somewhere if we had let them do what they want to do to him. But he's here, so it's a good day to start the dialogue. Young people need our help. They need our hope. And out here in Ward 8, hope is lost among a lot of young people. Their frustration levels are high. And then the other problem out here at Ballou, which we've got to work hard at doing, is that they're becoming increasingly fearful of coming to school. And increasing their parents are saying, I'm not going to send you to Ballou next year. And we've got to do something about that. We cannot have young people coming to school fearful and scared about being shot or being beat up, stuff like that. So this is just the beginning. This is indeed the dawn of a new day here in Ward 8. And the mayor and I are going to work very closely to follow up to make sure that we do everything we can within our power to offer help and hope to these young people. Got to do that. That's the only way we can make it.
Thank you, Mayor. Can we hear from Principal Hudson? Yeah, we want to hear from our principal, obviously.
My name is Dr. Daniel Hudson. I'm the principal of Ballou High School. It is obvious that we have had a number of crimes and problems that relates to our youth on the streets of Southeast. We can sit down and argue and yell about why that happens, but two things needs to happen in my mind. One is that we have been, as educators, we have been staged to put together a number of initiatives. Every day our teachers come ready, dressed, ready to teach, but oftentimes we have students who are not prepared. They are not fed. Even though we have a breakfast program, they do not come and eat. They will come with bags of cakes, snacks, and foods and stuff that would add to their mishealth in terms of sugar diabetes, obesity, and a number of other chronic illnesses. Now that starts from home with the creation of the parent center developed by the Temple of Praise, who is our partner. That's going to try to reverse itself. We're trying to reverse that process. At the same time, we need parents to be diligent. It's good to blame us for what we do wrong, but it's important that they themselves take responsibility and accountability for what they do at home as well as what their children does here at school. And so I will take the responsibility for my staff as well as myself here at this building, but others need to start taking their responsibility for what happens out in the street. At 2 o'clock in the morning, guys, 2 o'clock in the morning with a 16, 15-year-old child should not be out there at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's not the school's responsibility. It is not the government's responsibility. That's mom and dad or whoever is the guardian for that child. And we need to keep that in mind each and every time. So we're going to provide a program for them each and every day. We need them here at 8:45 on time. They will leave to go home. And between that time, before they go to bed, there's recreational programs and other government-type programs available for them. They just have to take responsibility for that. Thank you.
Did Dr. Paula, did you speak? Okay. I just would sum up and thank everybody for being here, particularly Councilman Mayor Berry. As I said, well, he wasn't here, so I'm not just saying this because he's here. I think he spoke very powerfully to the students. He's in a unique position, having been here all the time. This isn't just the first time he's been here to speak to the students. I think he spoke very well to a couple things. One was personal responsibility, and the other one was, and I would echo this, is the criticism of me, and I feel this as a human being, but I understand it. The criticism of me, the criticism of the government, the criticism, quite frankly, of you as a media, as a Councilman Mayor would say, is really the youth are speaking out. We want to be respected. They don't feel that they are respected, and they don't feel that there's anyone who cares about them. That's the most powerful message I got from talking to, wouldn't you agree? Yes. From talking to the students, and that's, I think, the call to action. You can all say, well, why haven't you done this before, done this before? I mean, the record speaks for itself, plus and minus. We are where we are. We need to move forward, and I'm committed to moving forward together with the people you see here, and most importantly, with our students. So we'd be happy to, all of us, take your questions now.
Can we get your reaction to the arrest of maybe a serial arsonist here in Washington? It happened apparently the last day or so. What's your reaction to that?
Well, you all know I'm a big, firm believer in Chief Thompson. He's of the district, grew up in the district, grew up in the department. He's an able, wonderful chief, and I think that this is just a step in the right direction. I'm proud of what they're doing.
Mayor, you said that you had this nice talk with the kids today, and you're going to come back in about 3 weeks. Do we really have 3 weeks to address this issue? Should it happen now? Aren't you worried about more kids dying in that 3-week period of time?
There are a lot of things we're doing. I'd rather take some time with the youth and with the leaders here and actually agree on some things that are going to work. And I'm saying month by month, personally, with our youth, and then Mayor can talk about a youth council he's putting together out there, work with them on a regular basis. I'd rather do it right than try to just do something, make everybody feel happy that has no real impact. As a matter of fact, we heard this from a number of students. Don't just say you're going to do something, slap something together, and then we don't see you in another 6 months.
Mr. Mayor, follow up on that curfew issue. We're heading into a period where a lot of kids are going to be out there late because of prom. Are you saying that we've got a curfew, that you can't be out past midnight on the weekends, or are there exceptions being made for the good kids who've earned it, who expect to be out there on prom night pretty late?
I'm saying, and I think all of us are saying, that in the abstract, And as a matter of policy, we want all of our youth in their home, but we all talk to our youth, and they're telling us directly, because they're the ones involved, here are the practical issues. And we'd be fools not to listen to these practical issues. One of them we've all talked among ourselves, we already know is one thing to enforce a curfew, but if you enforce a curfew, but you don't really have structured out activities to take the place of many homes that don't have any support for the kids, you're just fooling yourself. And the kids are telling us that today.
I got it, but I mean, is there anybody up there who can answer this question specifically? We're entering into prom season. A lot of the kids feel as though they've earned it. They expect to be out late on weekends. What is the message from city officials, to the mayor, to the council, to the principal? Should the kids go ahead with their plans for prom, or should we have a curfew?
I just speak as a mayor. We would work with the youth. Just as your parents often say, well, on a particular night, we're going to give you a break. Maybe it's possible for the city, working with parents and with the community, to say on some specific nights where there are proms, we're going to make a concession. I mean, that's why we're talking to our youth.
Bruce, I'm sure it can work out. There are exceptions to use the curfew. If you're going from some place to some other place, and you're accompanied by a parent, that's an exception. There are all kind of exceptions. So it's going to happen. So I'm saying it can be worked out. It's going to be worked out. Going to be worked out.
Understanding there are various levels of responsibility here. You, though, do serve as mayor and do hold some level of responsibility.
Who are you from now? Where are you from?
Channel 5.
Okay.
My question to you is, when you do reconvene, what is your personal part of this plan that you will bring to the table, speaking for yourself?
My personal part of the plan is working with the council. There are certain things that government can do. We're hearing from our youth, and Neil Albert is our deputy mayor, as you know, who once served as director of recreation. What we're hearing is there's some things we can be doing in our rec, like we talked about Bald Eagle. There are more things we can be doing in the rec centers that can be providing more support, more structure. That's one set of things. Another thing we're hearing is there's some things that we can be doing, and the mayor spoke to this in terms of jobs, and as we heard from many of the youth, we don't want a job where we're sitting by the coffee machine, getting coffee for everybody, but a real work experience. There are obviously some to-do things there. There are a number of things that we can do that I think that can actually move the ball forward.
First, I think the Mayor Williams can assist us in identifying additional resources that we might need that might have been going some other place, but now can be redirected out here where the problem is greater. We had the largest number of young people of any ward in the city, the largest number. On the other hand, we got the highest level of teenage pregnancy, a dropout rate, etc. We're going to turn all that around. And I think it's significant that Mayor Williams has pledged his personal involvement. I know what it means. That means you're not just bureaucratically getting involved as mayor, but you're getting involved personally, putting your personal feelings into it, your personal stamina, your personal commitment to do all you can to identify additional resources. And there are some resources. I mean, on the other hand, they're not some, like our school system. And I happen to believe that our school system has enough resources, almost $1 billion. But we got to, Dr. Janey is committed to turning it around. We're going to work with him on that, too.
Who did you meet with today? Was there any parents there? How were these folks selected? And why did you choose not to do a more general meeting like you did a year ago with the entire school?
I was frustrated with the general meeting a year ago, and I shared that with the students. The thing that frustrated me about the general meeting last year is everybody just came and yelled at the mayor, which is all part of being mayor, especially given a lot of baggage and history. I understand that and I appreciate that, but you can't just come in the meeting yelling at the mayor and then leave. There's got to be some follow-up. So what we wanted to do here was get the youth who are actually involved, who actually have a stake in this, who are crying out for some respect and attention, and actually personally commit to working with them to making some things happen. And an example of where this government has gotten personally engaged and made some things happen is over in Sursum Corda, where we got personally engaged. Now this was with our city administrator, Robert Bob, the same principle, and we've dramatically brought down violence there. I think we can do that, all of us working together in the partnership Councilman Mayor Barry is talking about, make things happen here too. We can get you a list of who they...
Well, how were they selected? Who was here? Was family here?
Ron can answer that.
Most of the students who were selected were children who were re-entry students. some of the students who walk the hallways, so we can find out why were they in the hallway, why do you not come to school on time, what do you need to come back from Oak Hill and be successful? All those questions were not answered today, but as a continued dialogue, we will get to to the solutions to those questions. All right, most of the students, we had some of the student government there. We had 4 members from the student government. So it was a wide variety of students, you know, so everybody can have an input, not just choosing all the good students who are going to come in there, because most of the students who get in trouble are not bad children. They just need help. They have problems. Like 25 students. And most of them, like I said, were children who had issues that needed to be addressed. And we had 4 students from the student government. So most of the students are the children that we're trying to reach who are in the communities, whose friends are being killed, who are out past the curfew, who addressed their problem with the mayor. They asked the mayor and told him that if we have recreation centers and places that we can go after the curfew, then we will go there, you know, because the issue came up. You can't be outside past 12 o'clock. The go-go's, etc. So the mayor said that he would work with them on that. And then one of the things that came out of me, maybe if we can find places for you to go, once you get in those places, if you choose activities that will be in those different rec centers, then will you accept the curfew? And I mean, I think that was very productive, and those are the things that are needed for the children.
Another thing, Tom, will be very clear.
Come up to the mic, Mr. Mayor.
Another thing which is very, very clear is that we have to involve the business community and others, because these go-go's, even the non-alcoholic places you can go to where you can't drink, they're out at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And so young people want to stay the maximum time. I know my son did when he was out there. I had to threaten him to get him home before they closed. So, I mean, we got to do that. So a lot of things have to be connected with everybody. It can't just be the mayor, can't be the council member, can't be Peaceoholics, can't be Dr. Janey, can't be Dr. Poy. It has to be a broader community involved so that we can see how all these things work together. For instance, if the go-go's going to close at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm not sure how I feel about that. But at least we ought to know that, and we know that young people are going to stay there. They're not going to leave till it closed. I went by a place last week just to check it out. I like to keep in touch. And it was 2:30, I think, 3 o'clock, and they were just still jamming, you know. And so.
Mr. Barry, an activist award, they called me this morning and said, as you would say, it's bad for any one young person to die. But wondered why this student was in Ballou High School. Was he properly registered? If he lived in Maryland, he said there are a number of students in this school and other schools who do not live in the district, but are in fact attending school there.
Monday, I met LaBelle's mother, his stepfather, grandmother, and 4 aunts. And they were very vocal about a lot of things too, but I don't know why, but I can answer that question.
Was he properly registered and paying tuition, all of those mundane things?
Yes, sir. Our records show that he lived with his grandmother, who was a resident of D.C. That's what we have on file. That's what he indicated that he was living with. When he was brought, or when the parent was called to for any discipline actions and so forth, it was the grandmother who came, not the mother. So as far as our records go, he was a resident of D.C.
Dr. Hudson, can we get you to speak to this curfew notion or law and the upcoming events surrounding the prom? What are you saying to your kids? Are they to go to the prom, then go to breakfast, hang out most of the night like a lot of them do, or do they abide by the curfew?
Well, obviously, many kids, as from the old as well as the present, are not going to do what we ask them to do as adults. Our curfew, or our prom, ends at 1 o'clock. And in every place that I have ever worked, the police and the city gave some time for those kids to move to their next venture, whether it's breakfast or the after activity. So I guess what I'm saying to you is that yes, the police is going to have to relax their rules, and add the fact that you'll know whether a kid is in prom because he's dressed to the T. He's going to be smooth out. She's going to be in a robe, or not a robe, but a gown. She's going to be in a gown, and so you'll see and know who they are. But if you see a kid who is dressed in the street clothing, he's drunk, He's not coming from a prom. He's going somewhere else.
But isn't that counterproductive for the police, as you said, to relax the rules just for that one night? Isn't that kind of counterproductive?
Well, I don't think so, because again, we're having students who are going to move from this stage of life into another stage of life, and as you know, we all went through that process of dealing with it. So if here we are with a student who is dressed to the T, he's going from a prom to an after-prom activity, we should not detain him. But if a student is acting rowdy and drunk or whatever that may be, then surely enough, pull down the law on him.
You mentioned recreational facilities.
Last question.
Was any discussion about school athletics, football team, basketball team, the investment in the plant and the investment in school athletics is character building, and obviously it's something that creates an esprit de corps and keeps people doing productive things.
Well, you know, I actually feel like we ought to have walkie-talkies. We've got Mayor 1 and Mayor 2. We've got all these mayors here, but I'm just going to... But before, you know, when Mayor Barry was in office as mayor, you know, he asked the then First Lady Cora Masters-Berry to do something about the corner of Mississippi and Wheeler Road. And that led to the wish list, and that led to our involvement in working with them to make a major commitment to build that facility. And both of us go over there all the time. I go over there on a regular basis, and it's a wonderful facility. And I mention this to the youth for two reasons. One, this is an example of where more of the positive things that are happening in Ward 8 need to be showcased. And fortunately, there have been some good articles and coverage about the center, and I hope there will be tonight. But the second is that a lot of the youth actually refer to it as an example of where there ought to be in other sports the same kind of connection between athletics and academics. Because what the tennis center does beautifully is it connects sports and the discipline and teamwork and diligence involved with sports with academics. We could do that in basketball, do that in baseball, do that in other major sports, football, for example.
Did you bring some, are there any of the students who were in the meeting going to come out so we get the student view of what happened?
I'm open to that. I'd love to have that. We had to work with the principal.
Let me get back to the athletic situation. I've talked extensively with Dr. Janey and with some members of the school board about developing. We don't think we can get it done by this September, but start in September, a full-fledged athletic program where academically excellent is our watchword, and athletically excellent